Good morning, nuts and bolts listener. Here we are tuning in again on another Friday morning. Super excited to see you all and connecting with you wherever you are tuning in from. So let's have a look what our topic is today, and it's really about leadership sandwich, or how leaders are sandwiched in their role. So this is not a very unusual topic. It's been around for a while, and many leaders can totally equate to it and resonate with of being sandwiched in an organization where the sandwich is really about the executives on the top, or the C-suite, and then their teams, and just being in the middle of translation very often and having to play that role of executing what the strategy is and then just implementing it bottom down. So if one looks at that sandwich, it sometimes really can feel quite squashed, squishy, and not always comfortable, because it's like everybody's asking, everybody's demanding things from you, and you are stuck in that middle, which makes it tight, uncomfortable, and very squeezed. So I'm quite sure you know that feeling. And if you're not in a leadership role, you can also relate to it in any other role that you have, be it as a mother, a father, a sister, a business owner, all that. You're often torn between two parties. So the same applies there. So just because it's called the leadership sandwich, you can so much drive it parallel to other roles in your life that you have. So as I say, the leadership sandwich is not something new, but it's now, since the hybrid working world, come up again as a big concept, because leaders are now even more sandwiched between the demand. There is such a demand on them to manage expectations and outcomes and strategy, because organizations are doing their absolute best to try and sustain, maintain, and keep their doors open, very often with the aim of not cutting employment, reducing production items or services. So really trying to do their best to keep their status quo level, which puts even more pressure on, because the C-suite has gone and redesigned, re-engineered, and re-looked of how they can achieve their mission and purpose, and obviously their strategic plan. Hence, they then go to the leaders and tell them how and what they would like them to do, and the leaders have to then pass it on to their teams. And often the teams are either not in agreement with what has been discussed at the C-suite, or they feel it is just absolutely impossible to achieve in that short time frame. So there is very much a level of resistance towards that, or not an understanding. Hence, the leader plays a crucial role of taking this often very difficult message from the execs and making it attractive and palatable for their team. So something that they can get excited about and want to do. Not an easy role to be in, and not an easy job to do. So let's look at the leader, because as I say, in that sandwich, it feels very squishy, where everybody wants something. So let's focus on the leader. And I think the first item I'd like you to look at, or perhaps consider, is that the leaders very often feel that in that moment of translation, where they are translating the one language between the other, they often feel like a ping pong ball being played off from one side to the other. And the only way to really stop that process is to know that you have choice, to actually step out of that for a moment, and just know that you have the right to argue with either the executives or your team, you are not out of control here, and you do have choice, and you do have a voice, and it's using that uh, quite a lot, and actually playing that part, because the C-suite very often does not understand and can resonate, or sorry, not resonate, but understand what's happening at the layers lower down. So the leaders do. They understand both sides of the stories. Hence, it is very important that they use their voice and step into that moment of having choice and control to help these two parties understand. So they really are critical in bringing in that communication factor between the two, and helping them to understand. And the easiest way sometimes to do that is to move out of the way and have your team speak directly to the execs, or vice versa, have the execs speak to the team so that they can hear their concerns and what they understand, and what the execs' concerns are. So don't always mediate it or be the translator. Let them speak directly to each other. And many execs are very keen on doing that, because if they hear it directly from the horse's mouth, they can ask the ideal questions. Because you might know that the minute you play broken telephone and you share one piece of information to another person, something gets lost in translation. And here is the same. So if you move out of the way and actually have the execs communicate directly to the team, not so much is lost in translation. So to reiterate, firstly, as a leader, you have choice. And secondly, make people communicate directly with themselves or with each other, and minimize your level in the process. The second or next one that is very important to perhaps consider is that as a leader is to build in reflection time, because that often is not the case. Leaders are on a very much on a rat race environment, running from one meeting to another, because we all know in the hybrid world, meetings have increased by like 300%. So we're very aware of that. So leaders are very much in a doing mode, trying to achieve what they need to achieve, not always sitting back, really thinking things through of what they heard, if it makes sense, or even how to best implement it. And then vice versa, listening to the team on where they are stuck, where are the bottlenecks, and how to change that. So if you're continuously on that treadmill, running from one thing to another, again, you'll feel like a ping pong and very squashed in that sandwich roll. So it becomes important that leaders take reflection time. And that can be daily, it can be weekly, it's really up to you. But really sometimes taking very deliberate time to step out and consciously and objectively view the situation playing out in front of you. I mean, there's a big difference between playing on a pitch as a sportsman and sitting at the sideline of a pitch and really strategically observing the game and seeing what's happening. So really developing this helicopter view, and then quite quickly being able to correct or make different links or processes or those things. And I know many leaders who are in this sandwich don't have time for this and feel this is an extra ask and burden and an impossible thing to do. But very often taking that time out does speed things up, because you can analyze and see things a lot faster and then respond a lot faster. So I'd like to invite you to build in reflection time. And as I say, be that weekly or be that daily. And I've had clients do it on a daily basis, where they maybe just take 15 or 20 minutes enjoying their cup of tea or coffee and really just reflecting about what's happening, what are they hearing, what are they tuning into, And they do that without any disruption. So often they even change physical locations so that their mind gets used to that this is their reflection time. Others do it either on a Monday morning, the way to start the week and reflect of the week ahead and where they see challenges and bottlenecks. And others like to end their week on a Friday with just half an hour going through in their mind what happened this week, what could we have done faster, what could we have done better, what do we want to celebrate, what have we actually achieved, what are we proud of. So the reflection time very much also removes the leadership sandwich of being in between and being conscious of the choice that you bring. Another one that many leaders do not think of, and that is very open to them in the sandwich, is that they feel this absolute compulsion to attend all of the meetings. And sadly, we often get invited to meetings that either we can't really add any value to, or it's not critical that we attend them. So it's becoming very aware of which meetings we need to go to, which ones matter, and also to create autonomy within your team and remove that conversation that you're in the middle, that you're the translators. Have your team occasionally attend a meeting. So empower them to attend a meeting that you really can't, or you think that they can add more value to than you can, and then allow them to summarize key points in the meeting and share it with the team. That way you are having peers feeding back to their own peers what they've heard, and that just creates a lot of empowerment because you've removed yourself out of the sandwich. So that is a nice way of doing it. And you also grow your team because they can hear how these meetings go, they can hear how they attended, and they obviously have the responsibility of providing the feedback, and other team members can ask them. However, if you see from the notes that you are receiving that there's a decision that's going to create a bottleneck or an upcoming challenge, then you need to step in and perhaps resolve that. So the leadership sandwich will be there. I think it's very much part of the position. You're always going to be taking sides, sometimes between the two, but always be honest and try and have the executives and your team communicate as much as possible. And if you feel that there's a value incongruency or there's internal conflict for you in the decisions that are being made, then it's having those resolved. It's not it's not ideal to have the two sides being played off against one another or not agreeing to one of the sides, because you are really there to create a interlinked and direct relationship between the two. So it's very critical that you agree with what is being happening on both ends, that you translate it, that you enhance communication and really show compassion and understanding on both ends. So the sandwich will never go away. It's just how you embrace it and how you deal with it and what you do with it. So it will always remain there. As I said, it is part of the roles and responsibility of being in a leader. So the other item to look into as a leader to develop and grow when you move into that space is really to enhance your conflict management skills, because you will be very often in that situation where you have to address conflict, and many leaders try to avoid it or sidestep it or are uncomfortable with it. And if it's not conflict, it's having candid conversations where you openly express and share your opinions with grace, if I can say so. So though that is a key skill many leaders are investing time and energy in learning and developing, because it's unfortunately a social skill we have not learned or we're required to learn, and most of us have learned it by doing, and unfortunately we have not always had good encounters with it, because conflict has a huge component with it which makes it messy, and that is emotions. So to manage your sandwich as a leader, it's really becoming well skilled in conflict management so that you are able to stand up, say what you need to say in a diplomatic way, and to manage two opposing viewpoints, ideas, or situations, because that's really what it's about. And both parties are very passionate about them, hence the conflict arises. So that is a key skill to learn as a leader and to manage that leadership sandwich. And the more you manage the conflict, the less you are in that tug of war or feel like a ping pong being played off from one party to another. So to recap today's conversation on the leadership sandwich, it will always be there. It is not something it's going to go away. You can only choose how you're going to engage with it and make it easier. So move out of the way occasionally and have the execs communicate directly to your team, and make sure that that communication flows as easily and as effortless as it possibly can. Have your team attend some of the meetings instead of you. Again, it enhances communication, understanding, and sharing it with their peers. Thirdly, take reflection time so that you can always take a step back and see what's really happening here between these two relationships, and what do I need to do this faster, better, or where am I seeing hindrances that I can already facilitate right now? And fourthly and lastly, go and develop conflict management skills, or how to have candid conversations, because those are absolutely critical. So that is it for today. Enjoy your week, and we look forward to connecting with you again next week, where we will have a very special guest who will be sharing things on tips and tricks, sorry, of how to manage Microsoft Excel in a different way, because most of us don't even know how to do things smarter and faster. So it's a critical topic that will save you an endless amount of times by just being a little bit more computer savvy and knowing what you can get out of some of your programs. So from my side, have an amazing week, stay well, and really look after yourself. Take good care, and bye bye.